So in this video what we're going to do is create a material instance inside Unreal 4. Now a material instance is very similar to a material, only that it can be changed in real time. It means that the material itself does not need to be recompiled every time you change it, and it also means that it can be functional and change in game. So I'm going to start a new level here. And I have a color texture and a normal map texture. I'm just going to right click and I'm going to create a new blueprint. I'm just going to call it floor matte. And I'm going to drag in two textures. So the way I'm going to set this up is I'm going to have a bit of roughness, or I'm going to have not a lot of roughness to make it reflective. And I'm going to multiply these two textures by 1, or by a 3 vector 1, so they stay the same. Now these 3 vector 1s and the 1 vector 1 I'm going to plug into my roughness. I'm going to convert them into parameters, which will allow me, when I make an instance, to change the attributes of them on the fly. It's a good idea as well that if you want to set up like a perfect metal or a base metal or something like that, like a base metal material, and then you can make an instance of that and then duplicate that and use that as a basis for the rest of your metal, so you don't have to keep on reproducing the same materials over and over again, so it isn't as time consuming. So I'm just going to grab a multiply here by holding down M. I'm going to plug that in, and I'm going to grab another one down by the normal map. Plug that in. I'm going to get a 3 vector by holding down 3, because I want to multiply these 3 values of red, green and blue. So I'm going to plug that into my multiply, and I'm going to grab another 3 vector down here and plug that into my B of the multiply. So that goes into my normal, and this goes into my base color. Then I'm going to get a 1 vector by holding down 1 and clicking, and that's going to go into my roughness, and I'm just going to make it at 0.3, something like that. So the values of my 3 vectors are at 0, so all the values inside this texture get multiplied by 0, which means that we're ending up with a black texture. So I'm going to double click here, turn it to white, which will make it 1. So it's just keeping its original value. That's fine. So I can save that for now. So what I want to do is I want to then right click these vectors that I made, and I can convert them to parameters. I'm just going to name this, and I'm going to color. I'm just going to call this color, and I'm also going to change the name of the group to color as well. And then for this here, I'm going to right click, convert to parameter. I'm going to call this normal intensity, and I'm going to name the group normal. And then this one I'm going to convert to parameter, just call it roughness, and the group also going to call roughness. So it's important that you name a group, otherwise it may not show up in the material instance. So name your attribute or your function, but also name the group in here as well. I can also turn these textures into parameters if I wanted to. So I'll just call this one color underscore texture, and I'll put that in the group of color, which I've already made. And this here one I'll also convert to a parameter, and I will call this normal texture. And again, choose the group, normal. And I'll save this out. Okay, so this is my base material made for me already. So what I want to do is, in my content browser, I can right click that material and I can create a material instance from that. So this is the material that I'm going to, the inst is the one I'm going to apply to my floor. Just give it a second. And here we have it. So it's the exact same as the base floor mat that we made previously. But if I double click my instance, you'll see it'll open up a dialog box, which is quite different from the material editor. It has no graph editor really in here where I can change functions or anything like that, or add functions. But on the left hand side it does have this details section, which has my parameter groups which I made. Under these tabs you'll see that I've got a color, okay, but I also have a color texture. Now they're not highlighted yet because I need to click on these boxes, okay? And I've got one for normal and I've got one for roughness. So what I can do is, if I turn on the color one, I can basically select here and I can change the color of my wood, and it'll change it in real time as well, and no need to save or no need to compile. If I had another wood texture, I could drop that in. I don't. And normal, I can change the intensity of the normal. Now when you're changing the intensity of the normal, you're best off really highlighting this and then just changing the blue attribute. So you've got red, green and blue, just changing the blue one. So the higher this number, the less intense your normal is going to be, and then the lower, the higher intensity it's going to be. So if I put that lower, you'll see that my wood normal becomes really intense. And then the higher I go, I basically can get rid of any effect that normal has on my scene. And the same goes for my roughness. Oh, in the normal as well, I can replace that normal texture. Again, I could use this as a base wood and then change the textures and the attributes for it. Then my roughness, I can make it really reflective if I wanted to, or I can make it really rough if I wanted to as well. So it's a great and easy way and quick way of making multiple materials, but allowing you to change the attributes relatively quickly.